Hello everyone, welcome to the Magic Whisk kitchen. I am Athena and today I'm going to be showing you how to make perfectly fluffy scones so that you can enjoy at home anytime. If you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. So grab your apron and let's bake. So for my scones, I'm going to use a standing mixer with a paddle attached. If you do not have an electric mixer, you can simply use a big bowl and wrap the batter with your hand, but I'm quite lazy, so I prefer a machine to do the work for me. So in the bowl, I have all-purpose flour, baking powder, sugar and salt. And I'm going to beat that for about 30 seconds. That way I don't need to sieve anything to make sure that the baking powder is dispersed. Okay, so that is enough. Now to this, I'm going to add my cold batter, which I'm going to grab from my fridge. I have already cubed that and I refrigerate it as long as you can, half an hour. You can just cut it in cubes and then pop it back in the fridge straight away. So I'm going to add that in here. Now we're going to paddle this for about 5 minutes in the standing mixer until it resembles breadcrumbs. If you're doing it in a bowl, it's probably going to take a little bit longer, rubbing it with your hands, so it's probably going to take around 10 minutes. So if you can, do use a mixer. Now, all-purpose flour is ideal for scones, as it's not going to make your scones too doughy, but then it has enough structure to it to make your scones nice and fluffy. Also, I do not recommend using self-raising flour, as this way we're allowed to control the baking powder that goes into our mix. After 5 minutes, your mix should look like this. So as you can see, there's some fine breadcrumbs here, and that's exactly what we want. Now in here I have my buttermilk and I've mixed it already with my eggs. Reason is I don't want any eggshells to go inside my mix, so I prefer to crack them separately, mix it with the buttermilk and then add it to my mix. So I'm going to add that all in. Try and reach for the middle of the mix so nothing is caught on the sides. And we're going to paddle until everything is combined. You don't want any pieces, any dry pieces left in the mix. And as you can see, it has started to come together. I'm just waiting for the bottom crumbs to be incorporated, and I'm going to stop and work more on the side on my clean surface. Okay, so once it comes together, see, it's a nice, it is sticky, but we're going to work it on the surface. Okay, so put all the dough on your surface. Don't worry if there's some little crumbs, we're going to add this by hand. And now we're going to knead our dough until it feels like there is some strength to it. Put some flour, do not be scared of flour, we're not making a bread here, so don't worry, we need some structure in our dough. Now I am making some fruit scones as well, so I'm going to half this and I'm going to add raisins to half of it. But if you just want to do plain, you're free to just do plain. Now keep working with it. Do not be scared of overworking. This is actually a myth that you can overwork a scone. You do need some you do need some structure. You do need the gluten to develop. Now I've been kneading my dough for about 3 minutes and now it's ready. As you can see, it's beautiful and it's stretchy. And it is all around a very soft but not sticky to the hands dough. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half and I'm going to add my fruit to it. So I'm going to leave this on the side. I'm going to smooth my dough for the plain scones out. Remember that your top needs to be incredibly smooth. So like that, almost like you would do with a bread, I would say. I'm going to leave this on the side. I'm not going to touch it. To the other half, I'm going to add my fruit. Now this is raisins that I soaked in Earl Grey tea for about half hour. Do not soak them overnight. They get way too soft and they almost They almost crumble in your mix, I would say. So half an hour in hot Earl Grey tea. You can use any tea you like. Chai is beautiful. English breakfast is nice. Even orange juice is nice too. But you definitely do not skip this test if you are using fruit. Otherwise, they're gonna get way too dry. So I'm gonna open this up a little bit and I'm going to put this in the middle. Push them in. You can use any fruit you want. You can use raisins, you can use sultanas, you can even use cranberries. If a soft fruit like cranberries would not even need any soaking, so even, you know, even easier. And you can also use orange peel, which is beautiful. It makes almost like an orange scone, which is delicious. Again, same like the plain scone, I'm going to put a little bit of flour and make it the top slightly smooth. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to put my 2 rounds here. I'm going to cover them with cling film. And I'm going to rest my dough for half hour. And this is an important step. You do need to let the gluten relax. And that will give us a fluffy scone. So half an hour and I will see you soon. You need the mix to be developed slightly so that it can capture the gas created by the baking powder while it's being activated. So do not be scared of overworking your scone, because that's not a thing. Okay, so now we're ready for the exciting bit, the rolling. So these have been resting for half an hour, like I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to leave the sultana ones on the side, still covered. And I'm going to start with the plain scones, no particular reason. I'm going to put some flour on my surface. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more flour on the top. And we're going to roll. Do be careful because they do need to be thick, so don't be like, oh yeah, it's like sweet pastry, let's start rolling really thinly, but actually not. So we're going to do 2 centimeters for the plain and 2.5 for the raisin. Reason for that is the raisin tends to not rise as much because of the weight from the fruit. So I'm going to check now everywhere. Okay, so slightly more here. Check again. So that's 2. That's 2. A little bit more flour on the top. Don't be scared. Now, I'm using a 6 centimeter cutter or 2.5 inches if you do inches. You can use any size cutter, but this is my preferred size. I'm also using a plastic cutter. Hey guys, interrupting this video to share with you something very, very important. I'm just kidding. I'm sure that you've noticed by now that I'm using nylon cutters in my video, but if you can, do use metal cutters. Metal cutters are much better for scones as the metal is nice and sharp, meaning you're going to get a cleaner cut and your scones will rise evenly in the oven. Keep watching, the good part is coming. So I'm going to dip my cutter into the flour and I'm going to make a clean cut. I've seen this a lot, people turn it, and that's when your scones are going like this, like they're seasick. So I'm going to press. Okay, and I'm going to press again, and you should get 4 to 5 scones from each roll. Okay, so these are my beautiful scones, and what I am going to do, careful at this, so the bottom is going to be the top, and I'm going to put it here on my tray. Leave a gap. It doesn't have to be too big of a gap. They don't spread at all, obviously, the scones. And now I'm going to roll only once. If you don't want to have any wastage, you know, keep rolling. It's just, they will be slightly denser than your first and second batch, but that's fine. So again, remember, make it smooth on the bottom, a little bit of flour on the top. Again, re-roll. We're going to check the size. From this, you should get about 3. And again, upside down. Next, I'm going to go with my sultana scones. We want to have as less fruit on the top as possible because that's not going to be too smooth. There's loads of fruit on the top. Okay, so I'm going to roll it again, and like I said, I'm going to roll this slightly thicker than my plain ones. I'm gonna check if there's 2.5. There's 2.5. Now again, clean cut. again, upside down. I'm gonna say it until you get used to it. Now all my scones are on the tray ready. I'm going to cover them in cling film and they're going to rest for half an hour. Then we're gonna do the first layer of egg yolk and then we're going to rest them again for half hour. So patience is key when it comes to beautiful scones. Now my scones have been resting for half an hour. I'm going to remove the cling film and I am going to egg wash them twice. In here I have 1 egg yolk, a splash of milk, and I'm going to add a tiny amount of salt in this and the same amount of sugar. The salt and the sugar really helps form a nice crust on the top. There is a little secret to egg washing. Be really careful when you egg wash and do not go down the sides. The reason for that is your egg running down your sides is going to prevent your scones from rising evenly. And we're not using any egg white for this. I know it's a little bit of a waste. I mean, of course you can use it for something else, macarons, meringues, but to get a really nice and deep crust, like a really nice color, you just need the egg yolk. Now I'm going to leave my scones to rest for another half an hour before I do my final egg wash. And now I'm going to turn on my oven, which I'm going to set 190 degrees in conventional oven, no fan, because it is a little bit too harsh on scones and they would get dry. So conventional oven at 190 degrees is perfect. Now you might be wondering, do I have to egg wash it twice? And the answer is yes, you do. The first layer of egg yolk is going to act like a crust. So it's going to rest for half an hour on our scones and it's going to create this beautiful crust. When the second layer comes in, it creates an even thicker crust, which is going to be beautiful once baked. Now our scones have been resting for another half an hour and we're ready to do the second layer of egg yolk. And same principle, just gonna put it on the top. Try not to get on the sides, very gently. And we're gonna bake them for 12 to 14 minutes. Do check your scones after 12. They need to have a nice golden top and you can flip them around and have a look at the bottom. It should be nice and golden, not too light in color because that means the scone is not cooked. I'm gonna place this now in the oven at 190 degrees conventional oven for about 12 to 14 minutes. I'm gonna check them after 12 and then I'm gonna show you the final result. Ta-da! Now our scones have finally come out of the oven. I cannot wait to try them, but look how beautiful, how fluffy. Look at this top. I hope you can see that. Really nice, really golden, and just so fluffy. Now we're gonna serve one up and I'm gonna show you what's the best way to serve these. Now you've made your scones and it's time for the big question. What goes first, clotted cream or jam? Well, let me enlighten you on that question. To serve your scone, simply split in half by hand. Look how fluffy. And now, drum roll for the big question. Okay, no drum roll. And if you didn't know already, yes, jam goes first as jam is a spread and clotted cream is a topping. So I'm using here some homemade strawberry jam, which is my personal preference, and spread it on both sides. Definitely not being stingy, be generous. You worked hard to make these scones and now you get to enjoy them. And for the clotted cream, I prefer myself using 2 spoons to spoon it on. And again, don't be shy, you've earned this. And spoon it right on the top. Oh my god, I'm drooling over here. And that's it, perfectly fluffy scone, served first with jam and then with clotted cream. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. See you next time. So good. So good. Oh my god. Let's make this.